The way Aunt Patricia sipped her champagne at my father's while reading made my skin crawl. She'd always been theatrical, but celebrating at your own brother's legal proceedings was a new low, even for her. "I simply can't wait to begin renovating the estate," she announced to the small gathering in the lawyer's office. "The place has become so shabby since James let things slide." I'm Olivia Bennett, 29, and the shabby estate she was referring to as my childhood home, the house where my father had raised me alone after my mother's death. The same house where Aunt Patricia had shown up exactly twice in 15 years, both times to demand money. Now, Patricia, my father's lawyer, Mr. Harrison, said mildly. "Let's proceed with the reading before making any plans." Of course. She waved her hand dismissively, diamond bracelets jangling. "Though we all know how this will go. I'm James's only living relative, apart from—" Her eyes slid to me with barely concealed disdain. "His unfortunate daughter." I straightened in my chair, smoothing down my simple black dress, the best I could afford on a teacher's salary. My father had always encouraged my choice to work with children, even when it meant I couldn't maintain the lifestyle his wealthy family considered essential. "Shall we begin?" Mr. Harrison adjusted his glasses, pulling out a thick envelope. Yes, Patricia said impatiently. "Though I don't see why we needed to include Olivia. It's not as if James left her anything substantial. Not after she refused to join the family business." I bit back a retort. The family business she referred to as Bennett International, a shipping empire my grandfather had built. Patricia had married into money and never worked a day in her life, yet somehow felt entitled to criticize my career choices. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. "The last will and testament of James Edward Bennett III." He began reading the standard legal language while Patricia practically bounced in her seat. "To my sister, Patricia and Rothschild," Mr. Harrison continued, "I leave my collection of family photographs and personal correspondence." The champagne glass rose halfway to Patricia's lips. "I'm sorry, what?" "The photos and letters only," Mr. Harrison repeated calmly. "No property, no financial assets." "This is absurd." Patricia's voice rose shrilly. "I'm his sister, his only sibling. That estate is worth millions. The company's shares alone are not mentioned in this document," Mr. Harrison interrupted. "Shall I continue?" Patricia's face had turned an interesting shade of red. "There must be some mistake. That little nobody can't possibly—" "That nobody is my goddaughter." A new voice spoke from the doorway. We all turned to see Robert Chin, my father's oldest friend and business partner, walking into the room. "And I suggest you watch how you speak about her." Patricia's eyes narrowed.
"Bobby.
"I might have known you'd show up to interfere. You always did take their side." "Their side?" Robert raised an eyebrow. "You mean James's side? The side of the man who actually built something instead of just spending other people's money?" "How dare you? I'm a Bennett by blood." "And that's all you are," Robert said coldly. "James saw through you years ago. Why do you think he never gave you a position at the company?" Mr. Harrison cleared his throat again. "If I may continue? There is a second document to be read." Patricia's head snapped around. "A second will?" "No," Mr. Harrison smiled slightly. "A letter, written by your father, Alexander Bennett, dated 1 month before his death 12 years ago." Now it was Patricia's turn to pale. "Daddy's letter? But that was supposed to be destroyed." Clearly it wasn't. Mr. Harrison opened another envelope. "This letter details the true ownership structure of Bennett International and all associated family assets." I leaned forward, curious despite myself. I'd never known much about the family business. My father had always kept that separate from our home life. "According to this document," Mr. Harrison continued, "Alexander Bennett created a complex trust structure before his death. The apparent ownership of company shares and properties was merely a facade. The true ownership was hidden in a series of offshore accounts and shell companies." Patricia's hands were shaking so badly she had to set down her champagne glass. That's not possible." "Oh, but it is." Robert stepped forward. Your father was a brilliant businessman, Patricia. He saw exactly what you were, a spoiled, entitled woman who would destroy everything he'd built. So, he made sure you'd never get the chance. Mr. Harrison nodded. The letter stipulates that the trust would remain secret until both Alexander and James Bennet had passed away. At that time, all assets would transfer to the designated heir. Which is me. Patricia stood up triumphantly. I'm the last Bennet. Actually, Mr. Harrison's eyes met mine. The designated heir is Olivia Marie Bennet. The champagne glass slipped from Patricia's hand, shattering on the floor. No, that's impossible. She's just a teacher. She knows nothing about business. That's where you're wrong, Robert said quietly. James has been training her all her life. She just didn't know it. My mind was spinning. What? What are you talking about? Robert smiled warmly. All those summer jobs at Bennett International? The internships? The casual conversations about shipping routes and international trade? Your father was preparing you, Olivia. He just did it in a way that let you make your own choices. Memories flooded back, filing paperwork in the company offices, sitting in on meetings, listening to my father explain complex business concepts as we ate dinner. I'd absorbed it all, without realizing its significance. The total value of the trust, Mr. Harrison continued, including Bennett International, real estate holdings, and various investments, is approximately $12 million. Patricia made a choking sound. $12 million. That's just the liquid assets, Robert added. Bennett International itself is valued at closer to $50 million. My aunt grabbed the letter, her eyes frantically scanning the pages. This can't be legal. I'll contest it.
I'll
contest what? Robert asked mildly. Your father's clear wishes? The carefully documented trust he created? The decades of financial records showing exactly how he structured everything. But, Patricia looked around wildly, then pointed at me. She doesn't deserve it. She's been living like a commoner, working a menial job. She's not fit to run Bennett International. I stood up slowly, something my father once told me finally making sense. Do you know what Dad said when I told him I wanted to be a teacher? He said, the best leaders are the ones who understand people, not just profits. I thought he was just being supportive. Now I understand he was teaching me the most important lesson of all. And what's that? Patricia sneered. That true wealth isn't about money or status. It's about creating value, building something meaningful, making a difference in people's lives. I turned to Mr. Harrison. I accept the inheritance, but with conditions. Conditions? Patricia's voice was shrill. You don't get to set conditions. Actually, she does, Robert smiled. She owns everything now. I took a deep breath. First, the estate stays exactly as it is, a memorial to Dad and everything he built. Second, Bennett International will establish a foundation to support education initiatives in underserved communities. Patricia laughed bitterly. Going to give away your inheritance to charity? Typical bleeding heart. No, I cut her off. I'm going to use it to create opportunities just like Dad did. The company will continue to grow and prosper, but now it will help others do the same. You'll destroy everything. Patricia shrieked. You know nothing about running a business. That's where you're wrong, Robert interjected. I've watched Olivia all her life. She has James's business instincts and her mother's compassion. She'll be brilliant. Mr. Harrison pulled out more documents. There are some papers to sign, Miss Bennet. And may I say, your father would be very proud of how you're handling this. As I began signing, Patricia made one last desperate attempt. I'm still a Bennet. You can't just cut me out completely. I paused, pen hovering over paper. You're right. You are a Bennet. So I'll offer you what Dad would have, a chance to earn your way. There's an entry-level position open in our Hong Kong office. You can start there, learn the business from the ground up. Entry level? Patricia looked like she might faint. You expect me to work? Yes, I said simply. That's what Bennets do. We work, we build, we create value. If you want to be part of this company's future, you'll need to contribute something more than just your last name. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Robert helped me understand the complex structure of Bennett International, introducing me to key executives and walking me through the company's operations. To my surprise, many of them already knew me from my summer jobs and internships. "Your father was clever," Robert explained. "He made sure you met everyone important in the company, learned every aspect of the business, but always in a way that seemed casual, unplanned." Patricia, predictably, did not take the Hong Kong job offer. Instead, she hired a team of lawyers to contest the inheritance. They got nowhere. My grandfather's arrangements were ironclad, documented meticulously over decades. "He spent 12 years setting this up," Robert told me, "making sure Patricia could never touch it, that you would be protected and prepared when the time came." The estate, contrary to Patricia's claims, was far from shabby. Dad had maintained it perfectly, preserving our family home while quietly building an empire. My childhood bedroom was exactly as I'd left it, including the wall covered in shipping route maps I'd drawn as a teenager, another part of Dad's subtle education program. 1 month after the will reading, I called my first board meeting as CEO of Bennett International. Patricia showed up uninvited, probably expecting to find me overwhelmed and out of my depth. Instead, she walked into a detailed presentation about the company's 5-year expansion plan, including the new educational foundation. The board members, many of whom had known me since childhood, were enthusiastically supportive. "This is ridiculous," Patricia interrupted halfway through. "She's turning a shipping company into a charity." Actually, one of the oldest board members spoke up. "She's expanding our market presence while creating goodwill and future opportunities." It's exactly the kind of innovative thinking that made her father successful. Patricia stormed out, but I barely noticed. I was too busy discussing logistics with our operations team, using knowledge I'd accumulated over years without realizing it. That evening, as I sat in Dad's old office, my office now, I found a letter he'd left in the desk drawer. "My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, then everything has gone according to plan. You're probably wondering why I never told you about the inheritance, the trust, all of it. The truth is, I wanted you to become your own person first, to find your passion and follow it without the weight of expectations. Your grandfather and I watched Patricia become consumed by wealth she didn't earn, twisting her into someone who valued money above all else. We didn't want that for you. So we created this plan to let you grow, learn, and develop your own strength before taking on the family legacy. Your choice to become a teacher showed me we'd made the right decision. You understood instinctively what Patricia never did, that true success comes from creating value for others, not just yourself. Everything I did, the summer jobs, the conversations about business, even supporting your teaching career, was to prepare you for this moment. Not by forcing you into a mold, but by letting you develop the skills and character you'd need. The company is yours now, along with everything else. But the real inheritance isn't the money or the business. It's the values that built them. Hard work, integrity, compassion, and the understanding that wealth is a tool for creating positive change, not just personal comfort. I know you'll make me proud. You already have. All my love. Dad. I wiped tears from my eyes as Robert knocked on the door. "Everything okay?" "Yes," I smiled, holding up the letter. "Just getting some final advice from Dad." "He planned this perfectly, you know," Robert said, sitting down. Even Patricia's behavior, he knew exactly how she'd react, how it would show everyone the wisdom of his choice. I still can't believe he managed to keep it secret all these years. Your father was a master of playing the long game. While Patricia was focused on the obvious wealth, he was quietly building something much more valuable, a legacy of positive impact. The next day, I visited the elementary school where I'd been teaching. My students were sad to hear I was leaving, but excited about the new educational foundation that would provide resources for their school. "Will you still visit us, Miss Bennett?" one little girl asked. "Of course," I promised. "In fact, I'm going to work on bringing more opportunities to schools just like ours. Sometimes the best way to help isn't by staying in one classroom, but by creating many classrooms." As I left the school, I caught a glimpse of Patricia sitting in her parked car, watching. I walked over and knocked on her window. "The Hong Kong offer is still open," I said when she rolled it down. "Or, if you prefer, we have positions in Singapore, Dubai, even here in New York. But you'll have to start at the beginning, learn the business properly." "Why are you doing this?" she demanded. "Why not just take your millions and live in luxury?" "Because that's not what Bennetts do," I replied. "We build things, create opportunities, make a difference." Dad taught me that, even if I didn't realize it at the time. He would have taught you too, if you'd been willing to learn. "I don't need your charity," she spat. "It's not charity, it's opportunity. The same opportunity Dad gave me, to earn something instead of just inheriting it." Think about it. 3 months later, to everyone's surprise, Patricia took the Singapore position. It wasn't easy for her. Years of entitlement had to be unlearned, but slowly, she began to change. "Your father would be amazed," Robert told me after Patricia's first successful project. "He never thought she'd actually do it." "Maybe she just needed the right motivation," I replied. "Sometimes losing everything helps you find what really matters." A year after the will reading, Bennett International had grown by 30%. The Educational Foundation was supporting programs in 12 countries. Patricia had earned her first promotion in Singapore. And I had finally understood the full brilliance of my father's plan. He hadn't just protected his wealth from Patricia's greed, he created a way to transform it. By letting me develop separate from the family money, by supporting my choice to teach, by quietly preparing me without pressuring me, he'd ensured the company would become something more than just a profitable business. The $12 million that had so enraged Patricia? That was just the beginning. The real value was in the opportunity to make a difference, to build something meaningful, to create positive change on a global scale. As I sit in my office now, looking out over the New York harbor where Bennett ships come and go, I think about the different kinds of inheritance a person can receive. Money and property are one thing, but the real legacy my father left me was the understanding that true wealth lies in what you give, not what you have. Patricia never understood that, which is why she couldn't inherit the company. But now, watching her learn and grow in Singapore, I think maybe she's finally beginning to get it. The champagne glass she shattered at the will reading? I had it framed, along with Dad's letter and a photo of him teaching my first grade class about ships. It reminds me every day that sometimes the best revenge isn't in defeating your enemies, but in showing them a better way. And as for that shabby estate, it's now home to the Bennett Foundation's headquarters, where we develop educational programs and opportunities for underprivileged children around the world. The gardens Patricia wanted to renovate are now a learning center where kids can study nature and science. Dad would have loved it. After all, he spent decades planning not just for the preservation of his wealth, but for its transformation into something more meaningful. That's the real $12 million secret he left me, the understanding that money is just a tool, and its true value lies in how you use it to impact others. Patricia may have come to the will reading expecting to inherit millions. Instead, she's inheriting something far more valuable, the chance to learn what it really means to be a Bennett. And me? I inherited exactly what Dad intended, not just wealth, but the wisdom to use it well. Sometimes the best secrets aren't about hidden money or clever legal tricks. Sometimes they're about hidden lessons, carefully planted and patiently nurtured, waiting for the right moment to bloom. That's the legacy I'll protect and pass on, not just the millions in the bank, but the millions of opportunities we can create for others. After all, that's what Bennetts do. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.